Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, TGIF to everyone out there. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Man, what a night. What a night. What a night in our Patreon and Discord communities. Man, oh man. For the most part, I think everybody ended up with a little bit of extra cash in their pocket. So, listen, tremendous support from everybody in the Patreon community. Shout out to all of you for dropping some of those picks off. I dropped a couple picks. I had Marcus Smart over 5.5 assists. I had Robert Williams over first half fantasy points. Both of those cashed. And like I said, man, it's a community effort. A lot of us chipped in a lot of our community members chipped in some of their own picks. And man, we just had ourselves a lot of green. But don't take my word for it. Let's take a look at the winners circle. The winner's circle over in Discord. This is my Discord, by the way, the Out of Bounds Discord, the official Discord of yours truly. Starting things off, man, my man Adine killed it with the PGA picks. We're just scrolling through. These are all winners from yesterday. We've got NBA picks up in there, green. Some NHL picks in there, some CSGO picks. But, I mean, as you can see, the community just absolutely on fire. PrizePicks, unfortunately, you got to hold the L after last night. I mean, I could keep going here. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, but these are all winning entries from community members. Anybody whose name is in red is a member of Patreon. So if you want to join Patreon, still plenty of time, still plenty of days left in the month of March. There's a link down in the description below. Listen, it's $20. You play a $10 two-pick power pick, and you end up winning, and it pays for itself. It's really a great value. Good value. I mean, you can't beat it. Shout out to Ty. Ty's leaving a super chat here. He says, thanks for the help today. I wait until the end of the day until my meat and potato picks. Really enjoying the Patreon Discord. Let's get the bag. Well, I appreciate that, Ty. Speaking of Patreon, Ty just joined Patreon a couple days ago. He's already paid off his $20. So appreciate the super chat. Never expected, always appreciated when you guys leave those super chats. Obviously, it goes a long way in supporting what I do in terms of creating content here on YouTube and, keeping me going, doing what I do for you guys. So appreciate it, Ty. And I'm glad you're enjoying the community so far. If you have not subscribed yet, take a time out now and hit the subscribe button. If I can get the words out of my mouth. Turn on notifications. I go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, doing these live streams. We do player prop research together, and we do it in real time. And I try to take some of the lift off of your shoulders, off of your backs, And we do these player prop research shows, tongue-tied, to help you guys out, man. Jeremy says, with a super chat, by the way, thank you, Jeremy, for the super chat. CJ killed it with Robert Williams and Marcus Smart. Thanks, bro. Listen, that was just my contributions. I mean, we had, like I said, a lot of other sharp community members, man. They were all coming up with some very nice plays. So I think it led to an overall good night for the majority of, the community. You got to get those pairings right. Sometimes it's, just bad luck and the combinations that you put together don't always work out. But yeah, man. Just a tremendous night last night. I can't say enough about how strong and how tight-knit the community is. No egos involved, nothing like that. We're all in there just trying to, get the job done, basically. Day in and day out on these NBA player props and PGA and CSGO and NHL and MMA. I mean, we're not just an NBA community. I don't want to get it twisted, get it mixed up. We do a little bit of everything, but... yeah, man, shout out to everybody. Travis A says, what's cooking? Stream and Patreon gang 10x yesterday to start getting back on track. Let's go, CJ. Love the research, fam. Well, I'm glad that you're loving the research. Jimmy Green says, morning, beautiful people. Best of luck today. Appreciate that, Jimmy. Best of luck to you as well. Drew Bree says he had a good night and he's ready for another one. What's good, CJ? What's good to you, my brother? Drew Breeze. Jojo Rabbit, good morning, everybody. Good morning to you, Jojo. George Michael Greenidge. Let's go, CJ. Keep pushing P. Well, you know me, man. I'm pushing P on PrizePicks all day long. I'm one of the OGs, one of the originals, one of the best PrizePicks content creators out there. Don't you guys agree? If you agree, drop a like on today's live stream if you agree with that sentiment, that I'm one of the best, if not the best PrizePicks content creator out there. I think I do a pretty good job for you guys, though. Appreciate all your support. Travis A says, smash that like button, man. I'm yelling it. He's yelling at the screen. Don P in the building. Good morning to the best captain in props and the executive crew of Patreon. Thanks to all of you guys for your work, man. I appreciate that. Tony Ruiz says, good morning. What a money night on Patreon. Hit that like button. Yeah, they're saying it. I'm not saying it. They're saying it. Sean says he's like a Donovan Mitchell over 25.5 points. Maybe we'll get into that one. Mark H., fellow Floridian Lightning fan. Good morning. Good morning. It's Fat Stacks Friday. Listen, it's actually going to be free entry Friday. What I'm going to do for the Patreon members out there, I'm going to give away 10 free entries to Patreon members today to win $100 a piece. I'm going to give away 10 of those. They will be selected at random. Giving back to the community is what I'm all about. So this is one way that I'm going to do it. And we're going to continue to give away free entries throughout the month of March. So don't think this is a one and done deal. For everybody who's in Patreon, listen, I'm going to keep paying it forward, paying it back to you guys for your support. I am forever grateful and thankful. So we're going to give away 10 free entries to win $100 a piece over on PrizePicks. So if you're in Patreon, man, keep an eye out for that. I will be announcing that giveaway in just a little while. Mark H. says, my bolts let me down, but the Patreon community never does. Hashtag super chat train. I appreciate it, Mark. Man, we are definitely running. I don't want to say it, but we are running a train with the super chats. Thank you, Mark, for being a part of the train. Maybe you'll be the caboose. Maybe not. Maybe somebody else will jump on with a super chat. But yeah, Mark, another one of our community members, man. He's just, he's loving it. Shout out to you, Mark. King United says, happy hour Friday is the best time of the week to get more slips than usual. Listen, King United brings up a good point. On Fridays, PrizePicks runs a $1 happy hour special. So for those of you who want to maybe try out some different sports, maybe you want to dabble in some picks and some plays that you're not real familiar with. They got college baseball going on right now on PrizePicks. They just announced that. Maybe you want to try some college baseball out. Now you can do it. $1 minimums will go live in just a little while here on PrizePicks. So when happy hour comes around, man, not a bad time for you to dabble in some other sports. Hector says, good first day of Patreon. He hit a 3-pick power play. Well, then your month's already paid for, my friend. Congratulations to you, and thank you for being a part of what we're doing here in the month of March over in Patreon. Desmond says, let's get it. Desmond was on some good picks yesterday. Shout out to Desmond, another one of our community members. Aaron Rodgers, did everybody enjoy their KD taco yesterday? Yeah. Kevin Durant, what was he at? 22.5, 23.5 points. Far too low, especially when they announced that he's going to have a no minutes restriction, no minutes limit. And then they announced Jimmy Butler was out. Oh my goodness. It was just, like he says, a free pick, a free square. So shout out to Kevin Durant. Back in the lineup for the Nets, and he got the job done at a very, very weak line of 23.5 points, I think it was. So, yeah, Scotty Barnes without Fred VanVleet and OG Anunoby continues to do his thing. Mr. Rookie of the Year candidate, man. Let's see what else we got in here. Tim, yo, CJ, what's up? Had some great wins last night. Tim, another one of our community members. Shout out to you, Tim. I'm glad that you had yourself a good night as well. So, yeah, man, good morning to everybody. Stonky Kong, good to see you. Another one of our community members. Ronald Screen with the what's up. Always in here with the solid what's up every single day, man. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody that's doing. Oh, my goodness, another super chat. David says, ain't no one want to be the caboose when train running. Don't make me the last, guys. Don't make me the last, guys. Okay. David now is the caboose. David doesn't want to be the caboose. So if somebody else wants to jump in on the super chat train, come on, ride the train and ride it. Boom, boom. Anyway. Appreciate the support, man. It's a fun Friday already. Hard not to be in a good mood when everything went so well yesterday. Listen, we've said our hellos, we've said our what's ups, we've given our greetings and our salutations. Let's get down to business here and talk about today's NBA slate. There's more money to be won. As great as yesterday was yesterday, and today's a new day. New day, new money energy. So let's go ahead and get down to business. Starting things off here, we've got a fun little matchup here on the Eastern Conference between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Philadelphia 76ers. We got 217.5 points with a 7.5 point spread. Sexton, LeVert, Rondo, the backcourt for the Cleveland Cavaliers, still pretty beat up, but the good news is Darius Garland made his return last game. So Garland back in the lineup for Cleveland again tonight. I think his points prop was already at 19.5. It's been bumped to 20, gang. They're already moving lines, bumping lines up. Tommy Cyrus coming through with the super chat. He says he just joined Patreon. He's ready to stack on from a good week. Dude, appreciate you, Tommy. Thank you for coming through with the super chat. You guys are just blessing me beyond measure, man. I did not expect any of this when I jumped on the live stream today. I appreciate you jumping on here, Tommy, leaving that super chat, man. Love it. So yeah, this game looks like a fun one. 217.5 point total with a 7.5 point spread in favor of Philadelphia. So Tyrese Maxey obviously has been balling. He's been getting buckets. James Harden's been doing his thing since joining Philadelphia. Joel Embiid is just Joel Embiid. We already know what he's capable of. He had that nasty poster slam on Jarrett Allen. Maybe he's going to look to embarrass Jarrett Allen again tonight. 7 p.m. also brings us the Atlanta Hawks at the Washington Wizards. We got 222.5 points on this game. 4-point spread in favor of the road team, the Atlanta Hawks. Listen, I took Nikola Vucevic and Clint Capella in a same game parlay, a 2-pick power, and that sucker ended up cashing. Those boys came out in the first half going at each other's throats. Vucevic, Capella. The rivalry continues, man. They were going at it. I don't know what it is, but every time these two guys play each other, Vooch and Capella, they seem to really go at each other. But anyway, Atlanta, Washington tonight, 222.5 point total. Keep an eye on John Collins and Okongwu. Looks like Trae Young's going to play tonight. He was a question mark yesterday. We weren't sure if he was going to be in or be out, but he did end up lacing him up and had himself a nice game as well. Washington, Vernon Carey Jr., the only game time decision. Otherwise, Winston, Beal, and Porzingis. Still waiting on Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know when he's going to make his debut, but it ain't going to be tonight from what it looks like. Indiana at Detroit, 7 p.m. tip-off time, 229 points, 2.5 point spread. We've got Goga Bitadze, Chris Duarte, or Duarte, however you want to say it. They're both game time decisions. McConnell, Warren, Turner, Rubio, all out for Indiana. On the Detroit side, Marvin Bagley III and Frank the Tank Jackson. I don't think anyone calls him Frank the Tank, but maybe they do. Anyway, both of those guys are game time decisions for Detroit. By the way, guys, all you Saddiq Bey haters, you baiters, I think Saddiq Bey hit every single one of his props yesterday. My man hit his points, he hit his rebounds, and he hit his assists, which probably means he hit his PRA as well. Saddiq Bey, he was balling. I know you guys have some hard feelings towards Saddiq Bey, but we talked about him yesterday at great length in a number of different categories, and Saddiq Bey ended up coming through. Shout out if you ended up playing some Saddiq Bey yesterday. I don't know if anybody did or not, but Bey was Bey yesterday, and I mean B-A-E. He's B-E-Y, but Saddiq Bey did his thing. King Chris with the super chat. Appreciate the work you do and putting together the best DFS community, man. Flex. Thank you, King Chris. He's been rocking with me for a number of months now. I appreciate you, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Now you are the caboose at the end of the super chat train. Let's see what happens. Anyway, Milwaukee at Chicago. 240 point total on this game, 4.5 point spread. The Milwaukee Bucks, the favorites on the road. This should be a fun game. A pretty fun game. We've got Brook Lopez, Pat Connaughton, and George Hill all out for Milwaukee. For Chicago, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and Williams are all out. So it's going to be the likes of Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo versus Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. It's a battle of the big threes. Should be a fun game, man. That's going to be must-see TV. I will definitely be tuned into that one. 240 point total. My mouth's watering just thinking about it with a 4.5 point spread. 8 p.m. Utah Jazz at the New Orleans Pelicans. 224 points, 4 point spread in favor of Utah. We got Butler as a game time decision for Utah. Otherwise, New Orleans, same old faces, continue to sit out for the Pelicans. Lewis Jr., Nance Jr., and Zion Williamson. It is reported that there is still no timetable for Zion to return, unfortunately. But yeah, that game, nice total, nice spread. 8 p.m. Minnesota T-Wolves at the Oklahoma City Thunder, 230.5 points with a 9.5 point spread. So this one teetering into blowout territory. This one could get out of hand. So be careful if you're taking any full game overs. If you're going to take any overs from anybody in this game, make sure that those overs are superstar overs. Guys like Karl Anthony Towns. Maybe you go D'Angelo Russell. Anthony Edwards already ruled out for Minnesota tonight. That is a big piece of injury news. Also, keep an eye on Jared Vanderbilt. Typically the starting power forward. He is a game time decision tonight as well. Over on the OKC side, they still have a long list of names. Guys who are sitting out. Obviously, the most impactful ones, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, out. So continue to fire up some SGA. He will be the man in the backcourt as long as Dort and Giddey are out. He will have insane usage per usual. 9 p.m. Houston Rockets at the Denver Nuggets, 236 points. Love the total. What I don't love is the spread. It's 13 points and it's in favor of the Denver Nuggets. Dennis Schroeder is a game time decision. Both he and Kevin Porter Jr. have kind of been flip-flopping in and out of the starting lineup. But it looks like as of right now, Kevin Porter Jr. is good to go. Dennis Schroeder, a game time decision. Over on the other side of things, nothing really changing with Denver. They've got the same list of guys that have been out. Porter Jr., Jamal Murray. So love the total, just don't love the spread. Probably going to be a first half only option for me in that case. Again, though, if you want to take a full game format, make sure it's going to be a superstar like a Jokic who will have a major role in a blowout if they do end up blowing out Houston. 10 p.m. The New York Knicks are traveling out west to the Phoenix Suns. 222.5 points, 6.5 point spread. We got Kemba Walker, who is not going to play for the rest of the season. We got Quentin Grimes, Derrick Rose already ruled out. Over on the Phoenix side, the big ones, Chris Paul and Devin Booker still out for Phoenix. So it's going to be Cam Payne and Landry Shamet taking the backcourt for the Phoenix Suns against tonight's opponent, the New York Knicks. So decent total with a spread at 6.5. I still think that this one has full game potential. Don't be afraid to play anybody in a full game format. And then this last game here, kind of a weird one. I guess it's a makeup game, so that's why it's here at the end, even though it starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. My Orlando Magic. Darn it, got to turn the hat around. It's Orlando Magic Day. What am I doing? My Orlando Magic versus the Toronto Raptors, 219.5 points on this one, 8 point spread. We're going to have the two rooks, Jalen Suggs on Orlando, my man Scotty Barnes for Toronto. A lot of injury news to keep up with here. Markelle Fultz has been ruled out due to injury management. Of course, he's just working his way back into the lineup, into the rotation for Orlando. But keep an eye on Wendell Carter Jr. He is a surprise GTD. He's dealing with an illness, so if Wendell Carter Jr. is out, then Mo Bamba would probably be the man. Franz Wagner as well. I would imagine they would probably slide Chuma Okeke into the starting lineup, but that remains to be seen. We'll have to keep an eye on that situation. Over on the Toronto side, Fred VanVleet is one to keep an eye out on. He's missed the last couple of games. OG Anunoby as well, but he's already been ruled out. VanVleet, a true game time decision. So 219.5 points, 8 point spread. A little worried that this one blows out, but maybe it stays a little close and more competitive if VanVleet is out. So there you go, man. That's your NBA slate for today. We just ran through it all for you. Hopefully that helps you kind of get prepared for what's to come today. Appreciate everybody who's joining me. Colby, shout out to you. Haven't said hello to you yet. Mitchell, what's up to you? And Timothy, Tim Scott, my man. Good to see you. 9 Ether Gods in the building. Bankroll Ree. Guys are already talking about tons and tons of player props. Let's get down to business here. We got some research to do. We're going to do our research using props.cash. You can get the rest of the NBA season of props.cash for just $69.99. Very good value. All the player prop research you could possibly want in one site, one tool. Or if you want to do it monthly, I can save you 25% on your first month. Check out the link down in the description below. Code Curry gets you 25% off of your first month on props.cash. So let's go ahead and get signed in, logged into props.cash. We'll start things off here by looking at the NBA player prop trends. We're going to go from current season to just the last 10 games. I want to take a look at the last 10 games, see who's been hitting at a high hit rate for points, and then we kind of narrow down the slate, filter things down by doing that. So appreciate everybody joining me. I'm going to go ahead and refresh my browser. You guys are recommending I refresh my browser. Oh, Garland is now up to 20.5 points. He started off the day at 19.5. He is now up to 20.5. So those of you who jumped in on Darius Garland at 19.5, you probably got some good value there if you took the over. He's now up to 20.5. So we'll definitely have to take a look at Darius Garland here. Drop a like if you're ready for some player prop research, gang. Let me get a swig of water and we'll kick things off here. All right. First guy up on the board, New York Knicks power forward Julius Randle at 20.5 points. He's got an 80% hit rate over his last 10 games. He's definitely going to be one that we need to look into further. He's going up against Phoenix. So he'll be going up against the likes of DeAndre Ayton. Some Jay Crowder, possibly. I'm not sure who they're going to put on Julius Randle, but if we look at the last 10 games for Randle, things have looked pretty good overall. Now, what I will say is that with RJ Barrett out, Julius Randle plays a lot better. He's a lot more aggressive. He's a lot more assertive. With RJ Barrett in, it seems like Julius Randle is more than willing to kind of take a back seat, to take a step back with RJ Barrett and leave RJ Barrett to be sort of the front runner, man. I don't know what happens with RJ Barrett in the lineup. Julius Randle is a different beast. Anyway, last 10 games, he is averaging 25.8 points. You can see over the last 5, his numbers have dipped to 22.4 points. And I think these last three games, RJ Barrett was active for all 3 of them. So things are starting to kind of slope downward, like not look so good for Julius Randle. We look at how he's done against Phoenix. He's played Phoenix one time this season. It was back on November 26th. He had just 9 points. 9 points against the Suns in that matchup. So a little bit concerning based on previous matchups for Randle. We look at the Phoenix defense. There's lots of red on the board here. Very difficult matchup across the board. 6th in points allowed, 3rd in field goal percentage allowed, 4th in 3-pointers allowed, 1st in 3-point field goal percentage allowed, 14th in free throws allowed, and 3rd against opposing centers. So not the easiest matchup in the world for Julius Randle. Despite the high hit rates, he might be a play worth either taking the under on or going and just fading it altogether. So let's look at both the power forward and center spots in the matchup here against the Phoenix Suns. We're going to look at the last 7 games, see how many points the Phoenix Suns are allowing to opposing power forwards and centers, because sometimes Randle does spend some time at the center spot. But they're giving up about 21.8 points per game to opposing power forwards. So you kind of see where they fall in line here. Middle of the pack. Not a real difficult matchup for power forwards when it comes to scoring points in the last 7 games. We'll also look at the center spot. Phoenix giving up over 21, nearly 22 points per game to opposing centers. Again, kind of puts them like right in the middle of the pack. So they're not the greatest in the world when it comes to defending opposing power forwards. So not the most difficult or challenging matchup. Let's refresh our player prop projection tools that are provided here by Action Labs. We'll go to the points category. Type in Julius Randle's name, and they've got it projected for 21.6. So the Action Labs models are liking Julius Randle over 20.5 points. It looks like the betting public on at least 2 sites are taking the over on Julius Randle as well. We're seeing a little bit of juice over 20.5 points. So that's your first prop of the day. 80% hit rate for Randle. Another guy that we talked about, that we mentioned already, SGA without Josh Giddey and Lou Dort around. Gilgeous Alexander at 27.5 points. They have bumped him up. Now, I don't mean they bumped him up today. I mean from the last game where he was at like 25.5 points against Denver. He's now at 27.5 points. So they've given SGA a little bumpity bump up to 27.5, 2 points higher today. But even so, at 27.5 points and 80% hit rate for Gilgeous Alexander. So let's go ahead and take a look at him using props.cash. 27.5 points is the number. Last 10 games, you can see he's averaging 28 points, just enough to get him over the 27.5 hump. Over the last 5 games, 28.8, so a slight uptick in his averages per game in the last 5. Now, against Minnesota this season, has not had great luck, has not had good success when it comes to scoring. Now, his role, obviously, a lot different now with Giddey out, with Dort out, but yeah, SGA 19 against Minnesota on January 5th, just 12 points against Minnesota on January 7th. So played Minnesota in back-to-back games and did not go over 27.5 points. But again, his usage should be way up now with those 2 guys that we mentioned before being out of the lineup. Now, the matchup is not a bad one here for SGA. You look at the numbers for the Minnesota defense. They rank 22nd in points allowed. Pretty bad. They're giving up over 112 points per game. 14th in field goal percentage allowed. 25th in three-pointers allowed. 16th in three-point field goal percentage. Dead last, or first, however you want to look at it. They're giving up the most free throws allowed. So maybe you take SGA's free throw prop into consideration. They're giving up over 25 free throw makes per game to opposing teams. And then finally, 17th in point guard defense. So we switch it up here. We look at the DVP, defense versus position, for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you can see against point guards, 3rd most points allowed in the last 7 games. So over 27, nearly 28 points per game being given up by this Timberwolves backcourt. So that's Patrick Beverley, that's D'Angelo Russell. They're not really slowing point guards down, giving up the 3rd most points in that 7-game span. Last but not least, let's pull a projection here for Gilgeous-Alexander. I got him at 23.1 points, gang. That is a whole lot lower than 27.5. I mean, like 4 points lower. Kind of concerning, but definitely cross-reference this projection on some of the other free sites out there. You got NumberFire, RotoWire, Betting Pros. There's a number of free different player prop projection sites out there. So see how this 23.1 compares to some of these other models. But at 27.5 points, the betting public doesn't care about any projections. They're taking the over here at 27.5. So maybe the models are just completely funky and way off. So yeah, definitely dig into this one a little bit further. David, back to being the caboose because he just dropped another super chat here on our heads today. He says, Joel Embiid apparently hates Jarrett Allen. Is this a thing? Chat, can you weigh in on this? Can anybody confirm that Joel Embiid hates Jarrett Allen? Or is this just like he performs really well against Jarrett Allen? Does he really have an axe to grind with Jarrett Allen? That's interesting, though. Never heard that, but maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't like Jarrett Allen for whatever reason. But David is mentioning both points and points plus rebounds plus assists for Joel Embiid versus Jarrett Allen tonight. Yeah, Colby saying, Jarrett Allen seems like such a chill kid. Why would there be any hate? I have no idea. Maybe it's like a big man rivalry type of thing, an unspoken rivalry between 2 of the better bigs in the league. I don't know. That's interesting, though. I had never heard that before. Accolade Rhymes says, can you explain what the minus and the plus signs mean in the over and the under for prop bets? I get them mixed up on Betting Pros. The bets that are high are the bets that are highlighted in green. I don't know which bet it is. Gotcha. So you're I think where maybe some people get confused when it comes to like the action. So let's look at SGA real quick. So at 27.5 points, we're seeing a minus 125. When people think of like plus and minus, they probably think about what they were taught in school, like the number line, right? You had like the negative if it was below 0, that was bad, or you know, not as high of a number. You had the positive on the number line. That means it was a higher value number, but it's a little different. Don't think of it like that. In this case, minus 125 for SGA at 27.5 points means more money is coming in on the over, meaning he's a betting favorite. Minus 125 is a good thing. That means that's where people are putting their money down on these props. Don't pay attention to the color. We're just simply referencing these different sports books to see how the money's coming in. Are people betting the over? Are they betting the under? In this case, minus 125, they're betting the over. Minus 105, they're betting the under. Now, what this is doing is basically looking at the projection for SGA at 23.1 and telling you that you have a 17.9% edge at 27.5. So if you believe that this projection is true and that this is accurate, then you would want to be betting the under here and getting the best edge or odds that you can. So in this case, 18.2%. But this is more for sports betting. It doesn't really apply to PrizePicks. Again, we're just referencing these books just to see how the betting public is putting their money down on these props. So in this case, the odds minus 125, 118, 125, 125. Strong odds on the over. People are putting their money down thinking that SGA will go over 27.5 points despite this projection being 23.1. I hope that makes a little bit more sense, but anyway. So yeah, SGA, decent spot. Appreciate all the super chats. By the way, let's get back on track here. Jonas Valanciunas at 16.5 points. He's been covering his prop at 70%. He is at 16 right now over on PrizePicks. So we're getting a 0.5 difference, a little bit of a value, I guess you could say, on Jonas Valanciunas. So we'll click in on him and take a look and see what he's been up to. The last 10 games, pretty good for Joe Val. He's averaging 17.1 points per game. The last 5 games, 17.8 points per game. So over the last 10, 7 out of 10. Like we said, 17% hit rate. Now we look at previous matchups against Utah this season. Even if we bump it down to 16 points, you can see he's only gone over against Utah in one game. 25 points back on January 3rd. Otherwise, 11 and 12 when facing off against the Utah Jazz. So he's going to have his hands full with Rudy Gobert. The Utah defense, they rank 9th in points allowed, 12th in field goal percentage, 12th in three-pointers allowed, 12th in three-point percentage, and 2nd in free throws. And they rank 4th against opposing centers. So very tough team. Obviously, we kind of already know that Utah, one of the better defensive teams and has been for a number of years now. But let's go see how many points per game they're giving up to opposing centers. They're actually giving up nearly 25 points per game. So you can kind of see where they rank, just outside the top 10, maybe like top 15. I won't count all these down, but a top 15 most giving, most generous team when it comes to points allowed to centers. So the matchup is not all that scary when you're looking at just the last 7 games. We're taking a look here at the projections for Valanciunas. Got him projected for 17.9. That's nearly 18 points, 2 whole points higher than his point prop line of 16 on PrizePicks. We're seeing him on a number of different sites at 2 different lines here, 15.5 and 16.5. At 15.5, he is a betting favorite to go over, minus 130, minus 135, meaning the public is liking the over. That is where they're putting their money down. And then one other site has him at 16.5. The public thinking 16.5 is a little too high. We're going to take the under on 16.5. So PrizePicks, they've split the difference here. Instead of putting him at 15.5 or 16.5, they've given us 16. So there you go. Jonas Valanciunas at 16 points. Matchup doesn't look so tough when you look at the last 7 games and the defense versus position. Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Drew Holiday also hitting at a 70% hit rate. I won't talk about Jared Allen so much, but Darius Garland's going to be probably one that comes up. For those of you who got him at 19.5 points, good on you. He is now at 20.5 over on PrizePicks. He has been bumped up a full point since this morning. So sometimes the early bird gets the worm, and in this case, it looks like it was a pretty good worm. Getting Darius Garland at 19.5 points. We look at the last 10 games for him. He's averaging 23.8 points. So yeah, that's like over 4 points more than his line at 19.5. Still good. Even at 20.5, I think it might still be in play. We'll have to look into it a little bit further. But last 5 games for Garland have been fantastic. 28.2 points per game. Now, he's only played 1 game since returning back to the lineup for Cleveland. You could see between February 15th and March 2nd, missed a lot of time there, missed a lot of games. Of course, we also had the All-Star break in there, so you got to factor that in, but had 33 points against Charlotte in his return back to the lineup just 2 days ago. So Darius Garland, been balling, man. I think even at 20.5 points, it wouldn't be a terrible play. Me personally, I don't like playing props that have been bumped up. I wish I could have got it at 19.5, but I'm not the type of person who's line shopping, who's locking in entries early. I like to wait and see. I like to hear all the news and then make my decisions with the most information possible. But anyway, Darius Garland in a previous matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers back on February 12th, just a few weeks ago, 27 points. 27 points for Darius Garland. So, yeah, I think this is a good spot. Even if you get him at 20.5, I think he could still definitely get the job done. Philadelphia's defense, they rank 7th in points allowed, 9th in field goal percentage allowed, 3rd in three-pointers allowed, 4th in three-point field goal percentage allowed. So pretty tough. A lot of red up there. 12th in free throws allowed and 12th in point guard defense. We go look at the DVP, defense versus position. Philadelphia versus point guards in the point column. We go find the Sixers here. And you can see that they're, giving up a decent amount of points per game to the point guard position. It's not a matchup that I'm necessarily looking to fade. It's not one that I'm too scared of. I know they rank pretty low here at 21.9 or 22 points, but he needs 21 points to get the job done. So there's a little wiggle room for him to get it done, and we know that he'll be very involved in this offense and have all the opportunities he can ask for in terms of scoring the basketball. So Darius Garland's point projection, according to the action projection tools, 20.9. That is a little bit higher than 20.5. Quick math. We're seeing him at 20.5 on 3 out of 4 books. Now at 20.5, 2 out of the 3 sites that have him up at that number, they're taking the under. One site, they're taking the over. But he is as high as 21.5 on a site like PointsBet. They've got him up at 21.5, minus 125, though, to go under 21.5. So there you go. I think Darius Garland still could be in play. Obviously, I liked it more at 19.5. Who wouldn't? But at 20.5, not the end of the world. Not the worst play that you could probably make. Otherwise, I think that pretty much does it for points props. Jeremy's dropping a little super chat in here as well. He wants to know about some Malcolm Brogdon points. We usually take questions at the end, but while we're talking about points, let's just go ahead and talk about Malcolm Brogdon while we got it all pulled up here. Brogdon is at 18.5 points. He's going up against the Detroit Pistons tonight. So let's pull Brogdon up here using props.cash. Brogdon just making his return back to the lineup. He's kind of been in and out of the lineup over the last few games. He's at 18.5 on PrizePicks. Let's bump him down here on props.cash. When we bump him down, you can see his hit rates improved to 40% over the last 10 games, but his point per game average is just 15.5. His last 5 games, just 18.2. So both of those figures less than 18.5, which is why they show up red here. But against Detroit, he's played them in one previous game. If we bump his line down to 18.5, you can see that he covered with 20 points against the Detroit Pistons back on November 17th. So that was a long time ago. That was probably still when they had Karis LeVert, Domantas Sabonis. It definitely was. So a lot has changed on the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, it'll be Ty Halliburton. It'll be Malcolm Brogdon in the backcourt now. But Detroit's defense, you take a look at the metrics here, not a very tough matchup at all. They rank 24th in points allowed, 28th in field goal percentage allowed, 15 in three-pointers allowed, 30th, dead last in three-point field goal percentage allowed, 29th, second to last in free throws allowed, and 28th against opposing shooting guards. So Malcolm Brogdon definitely in a very good spot. So if we call Brogdon the shooting guard, let's go take a look at the matchup here against the Pistons. They're giving up over 25, nearly 26 points per game over the last 7 games. That is the 6th fewest. So the matchup for Brogdon, a very good one here in the last 7 games. Let's take a look at a projection for Brog, and then we'll start talking about some other prop categories. But I got Brogdon at 19.8 projected points. At 18.5, though, the betting public, a little pessimistic here on Brogdon going over 18.5. They're betting the under, minus 120 under, minus 118 under, and minus 120 under. So the betting public not liking Brogdon to go over 18.5, despite what looks like a good matchup against the Detroit Pistons. All right, so there you go. Those are your points props. Next, we're going to talk about some assists. Look for the high hitting assist props. We got 2 guys up here at 70%. We'll talk about both of those, and maybe we'll hit on 1 or 2 of these 60% guys as well. Busy Time saying, Brandon Ingram's points have been dropped. Must be a blowout alert. Interesting. Swig of water for me. You can give me an assist by hitting a like on today's live stream if you haven't yet. We hit over 200 likes yesterday. Let's run it back. You and I, let's run it back. Get over 200 likes. We'll get this video out to as many people as possible to hit as many people's mobile devices, their PC screens as possible. We'll try to help people with our player prop research together. But I can't do it alone. That's where you come in. That's why I need you to hit the like button. All right. Julius Randle now at 5.5 assists, 70% hit rate. What I will say is Randle's points seem to come down with RJ Barrett around, but his assists seem to go up. I think he might have missed his assist prop in his last game, but he's back up on the board today at 5 dimes. Maybe we go right back to Julius Randle. Let's pull him up here. We'll switch the prop category to assists. Type in Randle's name. Click in on Randle. And then you can see what he's done here over the last 10 games at 5.5 assists. But we're getting him at 5 assists on PrizePicks. So things are going to change just a little bit. 70% hit rate now becomes a 78% hit rate because against Utah, he had exactly 5 assists. So that would be a push or a tie, in other words. Push, tie, tomato, tomato, whatever you want to call it. But as you can see, 7 out of 9, 78% hit rate at 5 assists. So he's been getting the job done. For the season, averaging 5.3 assists. For the last 10, averaging 6.2. And for the last 5, averaging 6.2 as well. Now, he had that one previous game against the Phoenix Suns, had just 4 assists in that game. So he did not score well. He did not assist well. But that was all the way back in November 26th. So maybe Randle is set up for a better night tonight. Anyway, we scroll down, we look at the matchup against Phoenix. Of course, they're missing Chris Paul and Devin Booker, so a little bit of a weaker Phoenix Suns team, at least in the backcourt. Not sure how that impacts Julius Randle playing the power forward spot, but nonetheless, Phoenix giving up the second fewest assists in the entire league. And we talked about it before, they're pretty tough against opposing centers. But for me, Julius Randle, more of a power forward than he is a center. Now we look at the last 7 games, go to the power forward position, and we see how many assists that the Phoenix Suns are giving up. Just 2.2, which sounds like a low number. But when you look and you see where they rank, 2.2 is not so bad in terms of ranking. Now, we also would have to take into consideration, who did Phoenix play in the last 7 games? Did they play a bunch of power forwards who aren't high assist power forwards, like a Julius Randle or a Domantas Sabonis? Those guys are higher assist type of big men. Maybe they faced a bunch of big guys who don't typically drop a lot of dimes. So you could take that into consideration. Then you're really going down the rabbit hole looking at who Phoenix has played over the last 7 games. I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to save you the time for doing that. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull up a projection for Julius Randle's assists. Now he's at 5 on PrizePicks, like we mentioned, projected for 5.3 at 5.5 on all 3 sports books. Heavy action coming in under 5.5, minus 150 and minus 140 betting favorite to go under 5.5. So that is why PrizePicks has taken the route of putting him down at 5, most likely. You might end up in a push, you might end up in a tie if you decide to take the over or under in this particular case. Other guys hitting at a high hit rate for their assist props, Giannis Antetokounmpo at 5.5 dimes. 5.5 dimes going up against the Chicago Bulls. We already talked about the sky-high total for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Chicago Bulls. So somebody's going to have to be dishing out some dimes in order for them to hit their lofty totals. So maybe this guy will be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's go ahead and pull up his projections and everything. We'll click in first using props.cash, showing you the last 10 games, 70% hit rate for the season, averaging 6 assists. For the last 10, 6.8. For the last 5, 6. So he's gone over his 5.5 line in all 3 of those averages. But against the Chicago Bulls, things take a little bit of a downturn here. He's played Chicago just once, and in that game had just 3 assists. Did he play a full run of minutes? Yeah, he played over 36 minutes against the Bulls. But he was not interested in passing, apparently. Just 3 assists in that one. So we go take a look at this matchup against the Bulls. They rank 19th in total assists allowed to opposing teams, second in small forward defense. Let's move forward here. Let's look at the DVP. Giannis, for my money, is the power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Chicago Bulls are the opponent. The player prop category in question are assists. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. The Bulls, all the way down at the bottom here, giving up just 2.2 assists to opposing power forwards in the last 7 games. So he didn't hit his assist prop against Chicago in their previous matchup. And again, Chicago against power forwards, giving up just 2.2 dimes in the last 7 games. So maybe those two things are working against Giannis tonight, and you either fade it or you take the under. Let's get you a projection using the action projection tools. I got it projected at 6.3. 6.3 assists is more than 5.5. The betting public also thinking the 5.5 is too low. They're taking the over. They think he's going to go for 6 assists or more, which kind of correlates with the projection models here. So not a great matchup. Didn't hit in a previous matchup versus Chicago, but the projections like him and the betting public seems to agree. They like him as well. So those are your top 2 assist hitters. Julius Randle, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Both of them haven't shown great historical success against today's opponent. Another guy to maybe take a look at, Darius Garland. We talked about his points. He's also up here for assists. So already he's probably in contention for a PRA play, points plus rebounds plus assists. You got Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid at 3.5 assists, a 60% hit rate. Donovan Mitchell, 5.5 assists, 60%. Ingram, 5.5, 60%. Herbert Jones. Jonas Valanciunas, 3 Pelicans at 60 and 50% hit rate. So we won't get into those, but those are some other names to maybe look into a little bit further. So now that we've talked points, assists, let's talk rebounds. And to start things off here, we're going out to Colorado. More specifically, Denver, Colorado. Aaron Gordon leading the way in terms of high hit rates in his rebound props. At 5.5 boards, he has covered this in 80% of his last 10 games. That's 8 for 10. And he's going up against Houston tonight. So let's dig into this one a little bit further. AG, former Orlando Magic man, now a Denver Nugget. Let's pull everything up here, dial it all in on props.cash. And overall, last 10 games, he's been rebounding the basketball very well. Very, very well. Now, this is at 5.5 boards. So we got to click this little arrow and knock it up here and see. Did I say knock it up? Click this little arrow and bump it up. We could knock it up too, but that gets messy. We're going to bump it up. When we bump it up, things change a little bit. Not that it gets like really, really bad, but you get a lot more pushes in there. So at 5.5, you get a lot more green. When you bump it up to 6, you get some gray in there. And the gray means push or tie over on props.cash. So over the last 10 games, he is averaging 6.4 boards. Last 5 games, the averages are starting to dip. Poor performance against Portland, just 2 rebounds. Oklahoma City, just 3 rebounds. These were actually pretty good matchups for him too, which is even more concerning. And then we go back and we look at the previous games against tonight's opponent, the Houston Rockets. He went under 6 rebounds back on November 6th. He went over 6 rebounds on January 1st. So 1 under, 1 over, 50% hit rate versus the Rockets this season. So we go back and we take a look at today's opponent and the defensive metrics here. The Houston Rockets ranked 22nd in rebounds allowed, 23rd in offensive rebounds allowed, and 20th in defensive rebounds allowed, and just 27th against power forward. So again, the matchup looks good for Aaron Gordon, but it looked good against Portland and it looked good against Oklahoma City too. And he only ended up with 2 and 3 rebounds in those games. Let's look at the DVP here. Houston Rockets against opposing power forwards in the last 7 games. Scroll down a little bit. Rockets are giving up 9.5 rebounds. So again, that's not a bad matchup. Kind of an average matchup, not a great matchup. It's not like Indiana who's given up over 12 boards. They're giving up 9.5. So an average matchup, not the worst matchup in the world. Let's go take a look at the projections for Gordon. The highest hitting rebounder on today's slate in the last 10 games. He's projected for 5.7 boards. Now, 5.5 rebounds on 3 different books. He is a betting favorite to go over, -125 and -130 respectively. Oh, we just got some more props up on the board. Shout out to props.cash, keeping us stocked, locked, and ready to go with all these different props on the board. But yeah, AG, a little concerning. Maybe he's finally in a perfect spot to bounce back after 2 subpar games where he totaled just 5 rebounds across those 2 games. Evan Mobley, Cleveland Cavaliers power forward, another good young player who's been hitting his rebound prop at a pretty high hit rate. Last 10 games, 70% hit rate. He's going up against Philly tonight. Let's take a look at Evan Mobley. We click into him using props.cash. 8.1 rebounds for the season, 7.7 in his last 10, 8.8 in his last 5. His numbers have really started to go up over the last handful of games here. 10, 11, 10, respectively. Just 5 against Charlotte, though, in the last game. That wasn't a very good one. But we look at the previous matchups against Philly. Played them one time a few weeks ago, February 12th, had 8 boards. So he actually did go over 7.5 rebounds in that game. So that is a positive sign. So high hit rates in the last 5, 80%, 100% in that one game against the Philadelphia 76ers. We go down, we look at the matchup. 20th in total rebounds rank Philadelphia, 18th in offensive rebounds, and 16th in defensive rebounds. So not a very challenging matchup. A lot of yellow here. At least it's not red, right? We go to the power forward position. We go find the Philadelphia 76ers. They're giving up over 11 rebounds per game. So the matchup actually looks pretty good for Evan Mobley here. That is a top 10 most rebounds allowed to power forward number here for the Philadelphia 76ers. So the matchup looking pretty decent from a man Mobley. Let's get you a projection. Got him projected for 8.8 rebounds. That is more than 7.5. That is very close to 9, in fact. So all of the things, all of the stars are aligning here. Supposedly for Evan Mobley. He is projected to go over 7.5 boards on 3 different books. That's right, 44 beers. You know, knocking it up leads to bumping it up. Are you guys liking Evan Mobley with everything seeming to be in his favor? He's hit against Philadelphia in his last meeting with them a couple weeks ago. Projections seem to like him. Betting public seems to like him. He's got high hit rates. He's also coming off of a bad game, which I personally like. I like going back to a prop after a flop. Bars. Thumbs up if you're feeling the Evan Mobley over rebounds. Thumbs down if you're going to take the under or simply fade it. I think he's in a decent spot, though. Maybe Jarrett Allen, Joel Embiid wrestling under the rim. Evan Mobley finds himself a few extra boards. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, right? Throwing it out there. All right. So we've talked Aaron Gordon, Evan Mobley. Rudy Gobert is also somebody worth talking about at 12.5 rebounds. He hit his rebound prop, I want to say 1 game ago against New Orleans tonight. Rudy Gobert, probably going to be a very popular option. We got a lot of guys hitting at 70%, by the way, but we have not talked about Rudy Gobert. So let's take a moment and do so now. Gobert, 12.5 boards, taking on Jonas Valanciunas. Could be a tough matchup. But yeah, Rudy Gobert, 12.5 rebounds. We've got him at 14.9 for the season, 14.2 in the last 10, 13.2 in the last 5. So his averages in the last 5 have started to dip versus the 10 versus the season averages. We look at previous games against this New Orleans Pelicans team. He's only covered 12.5 boards 1 out of 3 games versus Jonas Valanciunas and company. So a little bit concerning, I guess you could say, with Rudy Gobert and his hit rates against the Pelicans. Let's go look at the matchup. Pelicans, a lot of red here across the board. They rank 3rd in total rebounds, 2nd in offensive, 5th in defensive rebounds, and 8th in center defense. Moving ahead, going to the center spot, using the DVP projection, or not projections, but tool chart provided by Fantasy Pros, totally free. You can Google it. Fantasy Pros, FanDuel, DVP NBA, and you can get your hands on this for yourself. But Rudy Gobert going up against the New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans, guys. In terms of rebounds allowed, Last 7 games, they're giving up 13.6. So if you look at where they rank, that is the 7th fewest. 7th fewest. Not the easiest matchup in the world. Projection time. Gobert, or Goubert, however you'd like to pronounce it, is projected for 14.3 rebounds. That's more than 12.5. We're looking at him on 3 different sites, 3 different books at 12.5. The public is betting the under. They do not have faith in Rudy Gobert tonight versus Jonas Valanciunas. Take that for what you will. All right. Some other guys hitting at 70%. Randall, we won't talk about him. We've mentioned him enough today. Bojan Bogdanovic of the Utah Jazz, another Jazz player hitting his 3.5 rebound prop at a 70% hit rate. Drew Holiday has quietly been rebounding the basketball very well. 70% hit rate at 4.5 boards. Let's talk about Drew real quick. Drew Holiday, last 10 games, you can see what he's been up to. 4.6 rebounds over the last 5 games. 5 rebounds. He's gone 4 straight in covering 4.5, including 5 against Philly, 5 against Brooklyn, 6 against Charlotte, and 6 against Miami. So 4 straight games. Not a bad little hot streak for Drew Holiday at 4.5 rebounds. Now, against Chicago, he played them once back in January on the 21st, had 4 rebounds. So he ended up going under in that game. Close, but close doesn't cut it. We talked about Chicago in terms of rebounds allowed, 8th, 6th, and 10th. 3rd in shooting guard defense. So let's go take a look at the point guard spot because he's more of a point guard than a shooting guard. We go find the Bulls. Bulls are giving up over 6 boards per game, about 6.5, which puts them like right around the top 15. Most rebounds allowed to point guards last 7 games. So there's some upside here for Drew Holiday to get the job done. Definitely some upside, especially in a high-scoring game like this one is projected to be. Speaking of projections, I've got him projected for 5.4 boards. Now he's at 4.5 on 3 different books, 3 different sites. And at 4.5 boards, public, all betting it up. They're taking the over. Are you guys riding with the public on Drew Holiday? He's got 4 games in a row covering 4.5 rebounds. He's projected to go over. He's a betting favorite across 3 different sites. Thumbs up. Thumbs up if you're liking the over on Drew Holiday at 4.5 boards in a high-scoring game against the Chicago Bulls. Ooh, busy time coming through with the hot take. He says the Bucks could be blowout. Fade Drew Holiday. Whew. Delvin Shin, another one of our community members, saying Drew Holiday's PRA is a lock. So you're liking the PRA more than the rebounds. Well, speaking of PRA, let's go ahead and talk about some points plus rebounds plus assists. We've hammered a lot of these rebound props. Other guys to maybe consider for rebounds, CJ McCollum, the only other one at 70% that we have not mentioned. So we're going to switch it up. We're going to go over to points plus rebounds plus assists. Talk about some PRA. Rudy Gobert, we've already mentioned him for rebounds. His PRA at 28.5 has been hitting at an 80% hit rate, but right now it looks like the betting public taking the under on Rudy Gobert. Julius Randle, another guy we've talked about for points and for assists, 36.5 PRA going up against Phoenix, 70% hit rate for him. Bogdanovic, surprisingly for Utah, 20.5 PRA, a 70% hit rate. Let's talk about Bogdanovic. We have not seen his name. He has not made an appearance on today's live stream. But when a guy's hitting at a 70% hit rate, he is discussion worthy. So let's see what Bojan Bogdanovic has been up to here recently. Now in his last 10 games, gang, you can see here for yourself, averaging 23.4 PRA, very solid number versus his line at 20.5. You look at the last 5 games, it's been a little bit of up and down, hit or miss, but still averaging 21 points plus rebounds plus assists. There's the 5-game view, 29 against Houston, 17 against LA, bounces back against Dallas, comes down against Phoenix, comes back up against Houston. So who knows what will happen tonight? Nobody does. But against New Orleans this season, some encouraging news here. At 20.5 PRA, he has covered in 2 out of 3 games. He had 28 and 24 in the games that he covered. But on November 27th, he did have a bad game with just 16 PRA. But overall, against New Orleans this season in 3 games, averaging 22.7 points, plus rebounds, plus assists. Looking at the matchup, they give up the 14th most points, 3rd fewest rebounds, 11th in assists, and they rank 5th in defending the small forward position. But overall, plenty of points here on the board, 223.5 with a 4-point spread. So taking a look at the DVP, the defense versus position, let's go find today's opponent, which is NOP. The New Orleans Pelicans giving up about 17 points, about 7 rebounds. So right there you have about 25 PRA, and then about 3 to 4 assists. So definitely got some upside in this matchup going up against New Orleans. Now let's dial things in here over on Action Labs. I will pull up Bojan Bogdanovic, 22.2 projected points, rebounds, and assists. And the betting public taking the over on Bogdanovic. So Bogdanovic, a betting favorite to go over, projected to go over, high hit rates, has covered in 2 out of 3 against New Orleans. There's a lot going for Bogdanovic. Will he make your entries tonight? That's the real question. That's the real question. Some other guys here. Drew Holiday, 70% hit rate. We've talked about Drew Holiday for rebounds, but he's also a candidate for some PRA if you want to get into that. Evan Fournier at 19.5 PRA. I know, not a sexy name, but the dude's been getting the job done, right? Do we have Evan Fournier up on the board going up against Phoenix tonight? 19.5. He is up on the board indeed. So let's take a look at Evan Fournier. We'll talk about some different names so you guys can diversify your player prop portfolios tonight, right? We don't want to talk about the same guys across multiple props. Try to switch it up, diversify, mix it up, talk about some different names, some different faces. Evan Fournier, definitely a different name and a different face. Somebody we don't talk about a whole lot, but at 19.5 PRA, 70% hit rate. You can see the last 10 games, especially good for him. 21.4, last 5, 21.6. But we look at previous matchups against Phoenix, and much like his teammate, Julius Randle, the last time they faced the Suns, he did not have the greatest of games. 17 points, plus rebounds, plus assists. Not even close to getting the job done. Maybe tonight things are a little bit better, but Phoenix's defense, talked about it before, tough one. They rank 6th in points, 15th in rebounds, and 2nd in assists, and 1st against opposing shooting guards. So could be a tough one. Let's go to the shooting guard spot. Look at Phoenix and see what they've been giving up over the last 7 games. About 18 points, not bad. About 6 rebounds. So already we're at like 24, 25 PRA. We top that off with 5 assists. We'll call it 30 PRA. So there's definitely a path to victory or success if you're wanting to take the over on Fournier. Let's get you a projection here. Evan, 22.8 is his projection. That is quite a bit higher than 19.5. But, before we go locking anything in over on PrizePicks, we must point out the betting public is not liking Evan Fournier. They're taking the under on Fournier at 19.5. They do not think he goes for 20 or more PRA. Aaron Rodgers says, Evan Fournier, you could kick rocks. Oh boy. A lot of Fournier hate. Jared Allen, 26.5 PRA, getting it done, 70% hit rate. He's going to have an interesting battle on his hands tonight going up against the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid. My man David earlier said he thinks Joel Embiid hates Jared Allen. I don't know if he literally hates Jared Allen or if he just smashes Jared Allen whenever they face off against each one of each one another of one another. I can't speak. I don't know what happened. I'm falling apart. Jared Allen is at 26.5 PRA. He's at 27.5 PRA over on Props.Cash. Let's bump him down. And when we bump him down, his hit rates, they maintain at 70%. 70% hit rate. He's averaging 28.9 PRA for the season, 30.6 for the last 10, and 27 in the last 5. But I must point out that the last time he faced Philadelphia, he ended up with 19 PRA. Are you guys going to take the under on Jarrett Allen against Joel Embiid, thinking maybe he is held in check once again by the monster that is Joel Embiid? Looking at the Philadelphia defense, 7th in points allowed. They do rank 20th in rebounds allowed, so maybe you target some Jarrett Allen rebounds. 4th in assists and 2nd in center defense. Heading over to the center position, let's go find Philadelphia and see what they've been up to in the last 7 games. They're giving up 20 points to centers, about 14.5 rebounds. That's already 34.5 PRA. And they're giving up about 3 assists. So about 37.5 PRA. My man's at 26.5 PRA. So that's like a 10 PRA difference, meaning there's upside in this matchup against Philadelphia. Getting you a projection. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, Jarrett Allen's going to get ran over tonight by Embiid, but maybe he comes out a little extra motivated. I will tell you this, that he is projected for 29 points plus rebounds plus assists. And his line is 26.5 on PrizePicks, but it's 27.5 everywhere else. So we are getting a point of value on Jarrett Allen at 26.5. You guys going to take the under on Jarrett Allen or fade him? Drop a thumbs down in the chat. Breezy wants to know, what website is he on? Well, this player prop website where we've got Jarrett Allen highlighted is called PrizePicks. If you don't play on PrizePicks yet, you can go ahead and get signed up now. Use promo code Curry, 100% instant deposit match. Still happening for you. Link down in the description below. The site to my left here with the projections, this is Action Labs, which is part of Fantasy Labs premium subscription. Not only do they do player prop projections, but they also do fantasy projections as well. So I hope that answers your question. Now, if you were referencing this site, this is props.cash. You can get signed up for props.cash using the link down in the description. Promo code Curry saves 25% on your first month. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. Anyway, back to the NBA player prop trends here on props.cash. Some other guys that are hitting their props at a pretty high hit rate. Joel Embiid, 44.5 PRA, 70%. Garland, 32.5 PRA, 70%. And Tyrese Maxey of Philadelphia, he's been playing very well, 24.5 PRA. He's also at a 70% hit rate. So other than that, let's go ahead and talk about some 3-point makes, and then I'll get to some of your questions. We're well over an hour in. Holy smokes, I've been flapping my gums. Let's just quickly look at some of these 3-point shooters here and see which ones are standing out. Evan Fournier, 80% hit rate, not up on the PrizePicks board. Joel Embiid at 1.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate, not on the PrizePicks board. Donovan Mitchell, 3.5 3-point makes, also, you guessed it, not on the PrizePicks board. Pat Beverly, 1.5 3-point makes. 70% hit rate, not on the board. So that leaves us with a bunch of guys hitting at a 60% hit rate or worse. So you do have RJ Barrett. He can, I guess, be considered. We can take a quick look at RJ Barrett. I'm just going to pull a projection up for him. Won't get too into the weeds on the 3-point props. RJ Barrett, 60% hit rate. Projected for 2.4. The public betting the under. They don't have any faith in Barrett tonight versus the Suns. They think he's going to go under. He'll probably be matched up with the likes of Mikal Bridges, possibly Jay Crowder. Not sure who they're going to put on him, but could be a tough night for RJ Barrett from beyond the arc. So he's projected to go under. The betting public also taking the under. Some other guys at 60% hit rates. Will Barton, not up on the board. Darius Garland, not up on the board. 60% for him, though. Karl Anthony Towns, the 3-point king for now, is also at a 60% hit rate. Otherwise, a lot of these other guys are going to be at 50% or worse, so we won't even talk about those. You guys, if you want to flip a coin and take one of these guys to make a 3, that's on you. Let's get to your questions, though. Let's take some questions. We'll go for about another 15 minutes. We'll try to get as many questions in as possible. High-level research, lightning round. We'll try to get as many questions in as possible. Thank you again, guys, for all your support today. All the likes that you're leaving helps to get the word out, helps to spread the message. We're trying to bring in as many eyeballs as possible on this content so that we can help as many of you as humanly possible. Jokic rebounds, Jokic PRA, a lot of Jokic love, huh? Okay. We'll definitely look at some Jokic. CJ McCollum at 4.5 assists. Is that what we're asking? Ethan Ramirez saying that Tyrese Maxey has been getting it done. Busy Time 160 says Knicks players will piss you off. You don't know who is showing up. I agree with you there. We have talked about that extensively throughout this season. Just never know with the New York Knicks, man. Hard to trust. Delvin says SGA is going to put Beverly in the blender. Straight foul trouble for Beverly. Okay. Some Jokic first half fantasy. All right. We got a lot of people asking about Jokic. So let's go ahead and talk about the big man, Joker. Now, one cool thing that you could do with Props.cash to make this nice and easy peasy for everybody asking about Nikola Jokic, you just type in his name. Boom. Click in. And we could quickly look at both his points, his rebounds, his assists, combine them together, look at PRA for all of you that are asking about Joker tonight. Now, Jokic is facing off against a pretty easy matchup against the Houston defense. You can see here, all green up and down the board. Points, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, free throws allowed, center defense. The total's great at 237. But we talked about it before. The spread at 13.5, a little bit concerning when you take a guy like Jokic. You hope that he plays all 4 quarters or that he's just a complete monster in the first 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, and just smashes Houston. You're hoping that this guy is the major factor why they would blow out the Houston Rockets, right? So just looking at some hit rates here over the last 10 games for Jokic, 26.5 points. 3 for 10. Not great. In fact, even against Houston this season, he's 1 for 2 in covering his points props. So low hit rates in the last 10, 50% hit rate in points. You guys are also asking, a lot of you, about Jokic and his rebounds. Well, his rebounds have a lot higher hit rate. You can see 60% hit rate for rebounds. But again, against Houston, 1 for 2 in covering 13.5 boards. But the higher hit rates for the rebounds for Jokic versus the points. He's at 13.5 on PrizePicks, by the way. So we go back to the last 10 view. Let's look at his assists. 50% hit rate. Against Houston, he's actually had 2 and 3 assists against the Rockets in 2 previous matchups. Maybe you take the under on his assists. His assist line is about 8.5, it looks like. He's had 2 and 3 assists, a total of 5 assists across 2 games against the Rockets this season. So I don't know if you're considering taking any unders on Jokic, but if you were, maybe his assists is the way to go. Let's go back to the 10-game view. You guys are also asking about his PRA. His PRA, 20% hit rate in the last 10 games. Against Houston, 0 for 2. So the matchup is good. We know the matchup's good, but has not had a very high hit rate for whatever reason against Houston. In any of the categories, really. I'm not trying to talk you off of Jokic in this matchup. I'm just saying, he just hasn't been getting the job done. The numbers speak for themselves. I'm not sure how to feel about Jokic. Looking at the last 10 games and the hit rates, looking at the previous matchups against Houston, maybe the rebounds are the best way to go. It surely looked like that. I mean, that had the highest hit rates for the last 10, and at least he went 50% against Houston in covering his prop. Let's get you some projections here for Jokic. For those of you who are asking, a lot of Jokic chatter going on, so I'm trying to appease all of you. They do like him to go over his point prop of 26.5 at 27.7. His rebounds, 13.7. So if you're thinking about taking the rebounds, he is projected to go slightly over. The betting public also taking the over at 13.5. If you're thinking about going under on his assists, well, that could be a move. He's projected for just 7.7 dimes. We talked about his line being at 8.5. He hasn't even come close to covering 8.5 assists in 2 previous matchups versus Houston. A total of 5 assists across 2 games. So maybe you take the under on his assists. That could be a sneaky way to go. The public is betting the under at 9.5, but they're betting the over at 8.5. But have they done their homework? I don't know. I don't know if they have. Points, rebounds, and assists for Jokic. Projected for 49.1. We talked about how he's 0 for 2 against Houston this season. Covering his PRA of 49.5. He's projected to go under his PRA today. So the matchup is good. There's no doubt about that. I'm just worried about the poor success he's had against them this season. Some of you are asking about Nikola Jokic first half FanDuel points or fantasy points. We could look at those using StatMuse. Let's go pull it up. NBA first half over on the PrizePicks board. Shout out to PrizePicks for allowing us to play some first half props. Love that. Been doing really well with those first half props. Jokic, 28 fantasy points. He's faced Houston 2 times this season, has went under 28 first half fantasy points in both games. 21.2, 21.7. Not even close to going over 28 fantasy points. Now, you go back to last season, things get a lot better. 38.2, 39.8, 38.9, 37.1. He covered in 4 straight games. So, I mean, you're kind of getting the idea here with Jokic, right? It's not like he's a lock, the dreaded L word, the lock word. Not like he's a lock or anything. How about his points first half? Maybe that's a safer way to go. He's 1 for 2 in covering first half points. 13 on November 6th, 14 on 1/1/2022. There's the rundown on Jokic, gang. There are the numbers for you. I don't know, man. It's not looking that rosy for Nikola Jokic over the last 10 games, all right? Just throwing it out there, just showing you what's up. Shout out to all the new subscribers, man. We got a lot of new subscribers up in here. Cash Money Gamer, shout out to you. Thank you for subbing. Hermes, Ulysses, Grimaldo, Perez. What a name. What a name. Thank you for subscribing. David, Rabinovich. Thank you for subscribing. Links Inkwell, thank you for subscribing. Kevin Durham Sr., thanks for the sub. And D. Gravisser, thank you for subscribing as well. Appreciate all the subscriptions. So yeah, I don't know what to think about Nikola Jokic, but I ran through all the numbers for you guys. There's going to be some difficult decisions. To be honest with you, from what I just saw, the under on 8.5 assists, maybe that's the way to go. We never feel good about taking unders on a player of Nikola Jokic's talent and stature, but it looked pretty darn good. He didn't even come close to hitting 5 assists in either one of his games versus the Rockets this season. I don't know. Who knows? It never, like I said, never feels good about taking the under on anybody like that. I saw some folks mentioning this young man here, CJ McCollum, at 4.5 dimes. So let's take a look at McCollum here. Appreciate you guys smashing that like button, man. We are really putting something special together here on the channel, in the community. Like I said, it's free entry Friday, so I'm going to be giving away 10 free entries to Patreon members inside of Discord later on today. Those 10 entries, each one of those entries is an opportunity for you to win up to $100 over on PrizePicks. So if you're a part of Patreon, shout out to you. I'm going to be paying it forward, paying it back, doing the free entry Friday, 10 free entries to win $100 given away at random to anybody who enters in that giveaway. Let's see here. CJ McCollum, you guys are liking his assists. Let's try to figure out if that's a good move or not. He's at 4.5 on PrizePicks. This number is 5.5 on props.cash, so we do have to dial it down. We knock it down to 4.5 and things get a lot better looking. So at 5.5, 40% hit rate, but at 4.5, like he is on PrizePicks, an 80% hit rate. My man's dropped 8 and 9 assists in his last 2 games as well. Now, 5.5, you can see here, big betting favorite to go under. Big betting favorite, but that's at 5.5. We're talking about 4.5 on PrizePicks. We look at his previous matchups against the Utah Jazz at 4.5. He had 6 assists back on November 29th. He was a member of the Portland Trail Blazers then. Obviously, different team, different situation now. As far as assists allowed by Utah, they do rank 5th in total assists, so could be a somewhat difficult matchup. Let's go to the point guard position. We'll look at both point guard and shooting guard, but I believe McCollum's been playing more of the point guard role. But he's more of a combo guard, right? If we're splitting hairs. Going to the assist category, looking at the last 7 games, go find the Utah Jazz. They're giving up about 7.2 dimes to point guards over the last 7 games. That is the 6th fewest. So in terms of where they rank, bad. But in terms of the average at over 7 allowed, there's some upside here for McCollum. Looking at this matchup against Utah, they're giving up 4.8 assists. Puts them like right in the middle of the pack for assists allowed to shooting guards. And last but not least, we're going to get you a projection here on McCollum. I got McCollum projected for 4.7 dimes. That is more than 4.5. At 4.5 on 3 different books, we're seeing very strong odds, even as high as minus 150 on a site like PointsBet, where people are betting the over. So CJ McCollum looking like he could be in a good spot at 4.5 assists. I ain't mad at that if you guys wanted to take that. Yeah, Silky Mitts has a good question. Is fantasy score on PrizePicks the same as FanDuel scoring? Yes, it is. I believe it's the same as FanDuel scoring, and I think Yahoo Fantasy Basketball uses the same scoring as well. So FanDuel, Yahoo, PrizePicks, all using the same scoring for NBA basketball fantasy point props. Travis A says Embiid over 29.5 points. What do we think about that going up against Jarrett Allen? Well, I believe David earlier mentioned something about Joel Embiid's PRA, but you're asking about just the points on its own. We can take a look at those. Using props.cash. Guys, if you want 25% off of props.cash, use the link down in the description of today's video. Promo code Curry. Save you a few bucks. Embiid, he's at 29.5 on PrizePicks, 30.5 on props.cash. We bump him down to 29.5. You can see he is averaging 29.8 for the season. 32.5 in the last 10, 31.8 in the last 5. So numbers are looking very strong here. And then against Cleveland, big 40 bomb for Embiid against Jarrett Allen and the Cleveland Cavaliers just a couple weeks ago, February 12th. So we scroll down here, we look at this matchup. Cleveland, a lot of red up on the board here. But if anybody can overcome a paper matchup, it's this guy, right? Joel Embiid. Let's go to the center spot. Go find Cleveland. Cleveland giving up about 22.7 points to opposing bigs. It's a lot lower than 29.5, but again, if anybody can overcome an average, it's an above average center. Superstar like Joel Embiid. So let's get you a projection here. Points. Embiid projected for 31.1. Now, he's at 29.5, but as high as 30.5 on some other sites. Now, 29.5, he's being bet over. At 30.5, he's being bet under. And we could take this a step further using StatMuse. We can go Joel Embiid versus Jarrett Allen points logs. StatMuse, totally free, gang. Check it out, statmuse.com. Here's what Embiid's done against Jarrett Allen in 2 games against Jarrett Allen, with Allen as a member of the Cavaliers. 40 points this season, 42 points last season. Now, he had a bad game January 7th. Only played 30 minutes in that game. That was when Allen was on the Brooklyn Nets. But we look at what he's done February 20th, March 28th, December 12th, 39, 39, 33. Even going back to November 25th, 2018, 32. So, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 out of 7 games. He is not only hit, but smashed 29.5 points. Smashed. Just like you guys are smashing the like button today. Thank you so much again, by the way, for that. Joel Embiid is smashing Jarrett Allen when it comes to their head-to-head matchups. All right. Hour and 32. It is a Friday episode. I'll go a little longer for you guys, all right? I'm going to go a little bit longer for you guys. I'm seeing some Donovan Mitchell talk. What are you guys liking about Donovan Mitchell? Stonky Kong says, Sadiq Bey PRA, first half for all the baiters, all the haters. That's the Bay haters. We're inventing words here to describe those who hate on Sadiq Bey. Baiters. Stonky Kong, you're asking about Ayton or Crowder points. Yeah, I took Jay Crowder's points the last game when Devin Booker and CP3 were both out. Oh, they didn't bump it up. He's still at 10.5. Whew, the disrespect. The disrespect. Yeah, Jay Crowder points could be interesting again. I thought for sure they would have given him at least a little bump to like maybe 11.5 after he dropped, 15 points in the last game. But they didn't. So maybe that's a good thing for us. Let's take a look at Jay Crowder here real quick. Pulling up his points prop for my man Stonky Kong. And then maybe we'll take a look at some Donovan Mitchell, because I saw a few people talking about Donovan Spider Mitchell. Anyway, Jay Crowder, last 4 games, he has gone over 10.5 points. 17, 12, 16, and 15. As we already talked about, CP3 out. Devin Booker out. What does that mean? Typically, more usage, more shots, more opportunities for Jay Crowder. We could take a look and see. I don't think there's very many games. There's probably only one game log. But one other feature that's pretty cool about Prop.Cash is you could take some players off the court. So you could take Devin Booker off. And then you could go ahead and take Chris Paul off if you want. But like I said, I think there's only one game that this scenario has happened. And I think it was the last game. Yep. And then you bump his line down to 10.5. You can see he dropped 15 points March 2nd. So that was, again, the last game that he played. But for whatever reason, his line is just 10.5. 10.5. Now, he has faced New York one time this season. Let's go ahead and make this all players available. And in that one game against New York, he dropped 11 points on them. And that was probably with Chris Paul and Devin Booker active. So he did get it done against New York in that previous matchup. Now you take those two major players, those high usage guys, out of the lineup, and more opportunities abound here for Jay Crowder. New York's defense, not overly scary. Where they really seem to lack is in their 3-pointers allowed and 3-point percentage allowed. And if you know Jay Crowder, he's a 3-and-D type of guy. So maybe he finds a couple of threes. You mix in, a few layups, maybe a couple free throws, and there's definitely a path to him going over 10.5. So I ain't mad at that. Let's look at the power forward and small forward spots against the New York Knicks last 7 games. How many points are they giving up to both positions? 16.9. Let's call it 17. That's the second fewest. But again, Jay Crowder needs just 11. So I'm not really worried about where they rank. The average at 16.9, good enough for me. And then we look at the small forward spot. Knicks giving up over 20 points, almost 21 points. So a much better or easier matchup for small forwards. So if you consider Crowder to be the small forward, maybe Bridges is your power forward. Who knows? Who knows? One thing that you might want to consider, though, if Crowder is guarding Julius Randle, maybe there's potential for foul trouble. Crowder can get into a little bit of foul trouble. So maybe that should be a thought, that if he's on Julius Randle, maybe he ends up in some foul trouble. Just something to kind of think about. Anyway, Crowder's projection, 9.9 points. He is a betting favorite on 2 different books to go over at 10.5. So we talked about some Jay Crowder. I did see Donovan Mitchell mentioned. Which props were you guys liking for Donovan Mitchell? Donovan Mitchell over full game points. Worth Peak is mentioning Donovan Mitchell over full game points. Okay. Donovan Mitchell over full game points. Let's do it. We'll do that. We'll do Travis A's, James Harden 3-point makes. And then we'll call it quits, okay, for today. And then we'll see you again on Monday. And those of you who are in Discord, Patreon, you know I'm in and out of Discord all day long. We'll talk more player props, so don't fret. If you got any picks or plays, leave them in the Discord, and we'll look at them together as a community, man. The power of the people. So Donovan Mitchell, Utah Jazz shooting guard. He's going up against the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. He's at 25.5 points. I've seen a number of people mentioning Mitchell's name, probably for good reason, because, you know, New Orleans, we're not really scared of them. Defensively, it's not a matchup that we're looking to fade, right? So let's punch in Mitchell's name here using props.cash. Now, props.cash by default looks like they have him at 26.5 points, but we're going to bump him down to 25.5 because that's where he's at on PrizePicks. His hit rates will go from 60% to 70% in the last 10, so that's even better. And you look at what he's done in the last 5 games, he has gone over 25.5 in 5 straight. Really has been on a tear leading up to All-Star break and post All-Star break. Mitchell's been in his bag, y'all. He's been scoring the basketball very, very well. Now against New Orleans this season, he's faced them twice. Let's bump his line back down to 25.5. You can see that doesn't have the highest hit rates. 33%, 1 for 3 in 3 matchups against New Orleans. Now their defense, a lot of green and yellow on here, which means not the most difficult matchup in the world for Donovan Mitchell. So we ain't too worried about the matchup. Like I said before, we're going to go and look at the DVP here. Points allowed by New Orleans to shooting guards in the last 7 games. We do have to get our scroll on, and that's not a good thing because New Orleans has given up just 17.2 points to shooting guards. That's the second fewest. The second fewest. Now, they could have faced some real bums, some real shooting guard bums. We don't know. But the fact that they give up just 17.2 is a little bit worrisome, a little bit concerning. Combine that with the low hit rates for Mitchell versus New Orleans this season. Listen, I know he's showing great form recently, so he does have that going for him. So Mitchell at 25.5 points, the projection models have him at 28.5. He's at 25.5 on 2 sites. He's at 26.5 on 2 sites. The 2 sites at 25.5, the public taking the over. The 2 sites at 26.5, the public are taking the under. So we're getting him at 25.5. If we want to ride with the public at 25.5, then we would also want to lean toward the over as well. Fred VanVleet is out. Aaron Rodgers, breaking news. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Breaking news. Looks like Aaron Rodgers just broke some news. Fred VanVleet is officially out. OG Anunoby already ruled out. So, yeah, Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent Jr. shot terribly last night, by the way. Gary Trent Jr. shot terribly last night. And Pascal Siakam probably all in play. Links to everything down in the description below, by the way, gang. For those of you asking, Discord, Patreon, props.cash, PrizePicks, all of the things. You can find them down in the description of today's video. Okay. And as I said to Travis A., James Harden's 3-point makes will be the last one that I talk about, and then we'll wrap this thing up. We are already an hour and 40 minutes into this. So we'll make this one a good one here. James Harden, Philadelphia 76ers swingman. You want to know about his 3-point field goal makes. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. Type them in here to props.cash. Props.cash. He's at 2.5 3-point makes going up against Cleveland. Now, he's only played, what, 2 games? Or is it 3 games now? 3 games now since joining the Brooklyn Nets. In those 3 games, 5 3-point makes against Minnesota, 3 against New York, Played New York again, had just 2. Maybe he's in a good spot to bounce back against Cleveland. We've talked about it before, but if you're scoring on Cleveland, you're going to have a hard time scoring in the paint on Cleveland. They got the Twin Towers. They got Jared Allen. They've got Evan Mobley. Shoot, they've even got a third tower, a little mini tower. His name's Lauri Markkanen. They got some long boys, all right? Some long boys in that front court. So if you're James Harden, you might need to step out there and snipe from the three-point line to get your points off. Going down here, looking at this matchup, Cleveland's defense, 7th in three-pointers allowed, giving up a little over 11, almost 12 three-point makes per game. That number has gone up recently. 10th in three-point field goal percentage. Again, that number has gone up, and they rank 23rd against shooting guards. So, looking at the DVP here, we'll look at both point guards and shooting guards. James Harden versus them long boys. Them long boys out there. Long boys in Cleveland, y'all. Cleveland giving up 2.4 threes in the last 7 games. That is the 7th fewest to point guards. Looking at shooting guards, much better if you're a shooting guard. 4th most, giving up over 4.1 3-point makes per game to shooting guards. Okay. And then last but not least, we'll go look at the 3-point makes projections for James Harden. They got him projected at 2.4. He is a betting favorite. The public not showing much confidence in James Harden tonight to make 3 3-pointers. They think he'll make 2 or fewer. So there you go. James Harden in a nutshell. That's going to be it, gang. Whew. Boy, I've done a lot of talking here in the last hour and 40-something minutes. Appreciate all of you joining me today. Listen, free entry Friday going down for the Patreon members. 10 free entries going to be given away today. I plan on doing some free giveaways for those of you who are not Patreon members. There won't be as many free entries given away, but I still want to give back to those of you guys who are rocking with me here on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. I'll probably be announcing a giveaway. Maybe we'll give away like 3 free entries to win $100 on PrizePicks. We'll do something like that here in the near future for you guys. Got to figure out how to best execute a giveaway like that, all right? But we'll do it, man. We'll do it for sure. Anyways, good luck tonight. Have a great weekend. And for those of you who are in Patreon and Discord, you know where you can find me. Until then, y'all. Peace.